Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Tank Observers podcast. My name is Jackson McCarty, as always, joined by my co-host Chris Spar. And Chris, what are we doing today?
Building the perfect wide receiver prospect.
But we can only use
We can only use one player in each category.
Right.
We could reuse players
From each
we could
other's
each use a player, but we can only use one player in each category for each spot. So it makes it a little bit more difficult. You get to bring in some pretty out there prospects, or you could stick to the famous ones if you really want to.
For example, let's say I really like Jamar Chase's speed and his route running. I can only use him for one of those. And the pool is limited to the 2021 class of wide receivers. So that way you can't be like, oh, I want Julio to go with this person and I want whoever. You have to keep it within the lines because at the end of the day, we are a draft show.
Yes.
And this at least keeps it a little bit spicy. I'm sure you've seen lists where it's like, oh, I want Julio's size and I want D-Hop's catching and no, we're going to take it of what God has given us for April. So without further ado, let's start us off with the first category, which is size. That's a very crucial part to every receiver, knowing what they can do, what they can't do. So Topher, whose frame are you putting this wide receiver in?
Okay, I'm taking LSU's Terrace Marshall Jr. 6'3", 200 pounds. It is just it's sturdy. It is the sought after generic number one receiver size that you look for. You look at guys like AJ Green, who's a 7-time Pro Bowler.
Yes.
He fits that 6'3", about 200 pounds. He's like 205, 210, but he's right in that range. It is just that sought after. That's what you look for in a receiver. Now, obviously, you can be that size. You don't have to be that size. I mean,
Right.
D-Hop's 6'1", like 220, and you have just monster humans like Calvin Johnson Jr. But I like that 6'3" size. It is a little generic, but it's just what I'm looking for from my number ones.
In a funny turn of event, you're the one that went with the traditional.
Yeah.
I have been very adamant. Maybe my accent doesn't give it away, but I've been a very traditional picking person so far in our podcast career. And you ended up taking that steam from me. So I went with a bit more of a hybrid look here. I'm going with Nico Collins. And if you haven't watched his tape, let me tell you why I picked him. He is 6'4", 222 pounds. That's a tight end.
He's a monster. He's
Yeah.
not human.
Plus, if I get to design every other aspect of his game, let me just get some gargantuan beast out there with some of the traits. I don't want to spoil it, but some of these other traits that just don't really fit on somebody like that unless it's Calvin Johnson.
See, last year I bet you would have gone with Colin Johnson from Texas.
Actually, first person I thought of, Antonio Gandy Golden, because he's 6'5" and change.
Dude, I'd take Colin Johnson all day. 6'6", 230. Why not?
He's an
But-
absolute monster.
I got Terrace Marshall, Nico Collins on the other end.
That's absolutely
Scary.
fair. And with that one out of the way, let's focus on the legs, more specifically the speed. We're looking at guys. We're trying to find the fastest you can make these behemoths that we've already created. So Topher, who are you taking for speed?
I'm taking Jalen Waddle. I'm seeing him run a mid to low 4.3, and obviously that's not padded, but he's still fast. And I think Chris Johnson was the one that said it. I know that Chris Johnson's the one that said it. I say I think because that's what everyone says. But Chris Johnson said there's a difference between being fast and there's a difference between being fast and being fast when you play.
Yes.
Chris Johnson was one of the fastest humans I've ever seen play football. And he's also, before recently, had the fastest 40 time.
And if you buy into the conspiracy theories, he still holds it.
Just wanted John Ross to break it. But no,
What a strange selection to break it, too.
seriously. Look at that bust.
Yeah.
But Jalen Waddle, I see translating that 4.3 speed into the game. And I want Terrace Marshall to be running with that translated 4.3 speed. Also, you look at Jalen Waddle, he's fast, and he's also fast in and out of his routes. He has that balance, too, that can maintain it. So we'd say it's speed, but I feel like it's more so agility.
Yeah.
So when you have 6'3" frame, I want him running a 4.3, but I also don't want him falling over because he's running too fast for his own body.
If Jalen Waddle even runs higher than a mid to low 4.3, look at guys like Jalen Rager. Last year, he ran a 4.5 something. Like without pads, it doesn't matter because you're seeing 4.3 speed on the field. You know what you're getting there. You took Jalen Waddle, so I wanted to counterpoint to you a little bit, and I went with my guy, Rondale Moore. I project he'll, without pads, obviously we don't know, but I project he'll go in and around how fast Jalen Waddle runs. I don't know who will be faster. I think it might be Rondale Moore. He's a little bit more compact, and typically that lets those guys get off the line quicker. He's got a bit more of an aggressive first step, which I think will help him here. But he's so quick out of his releases. He's just uber fast. There's nothing. I don't know of anybody offhand in this draft class that could catch him that plays defense. So Rondale Moore for me, I'll go ahead and grab him.
You can have him. I took my boy Jalen Waddle.
Exactly.
He's my man.
We have two. We both have a fast guy in this class.
Yeah.
Similar to last year, I had Rager, and I believe you were a Ruggs guy.
I was a big Henry Ruggs guy as far as who's going to be the faster one out of the class, and Henry Ruggs is terrifying when he's on the field.
And then we made way for Javelin Guidry for no reason.
I found him in Madden the other day. I forgot he was a guy.
Yeah. He went somewhere in California, right? UCLA or something of the sort?
I don't remember.
He went in like the 7th round.
You know what's funny? He ran a faster 40, but Henry Ruggs is faster in Madden.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Henry,
it kind of matters with pads, you think?
I guess so.
Moving
Just find it hilarious.
Moving on to the next skill that we're focusing on here, we've got the route tree. How many routes can they run? How crisp are their cuts? And overall, how solid are they actually going to be on the field? This one, not a combine stat. So, Topher, who are you going with?
I'm taking Rico Bussey Jr. from Hawaii. He's just such a safe pick. And frankly, just because his route tree might not be as big as some of the other guys in his classes, he's an expert in what he runs.
Yeah.
And I don't need you to be fancy when you're 6'3" and as fast as Jalen Waddle. I need you to get open. And Rico Bussey gets open. And he's so versatile within his basic routes. He can run out of the slot and he can run from the outside. And yes, is he just a safe generic route runner? Absolutely. But he gets open as well as a lot of the other guys in this class that are ranked higher than him. So I see Rico Bussey just being a very nice, secure route runner. You know, you're not going to worry. Like, he's just when you watch him on the field, the quarterback always knows if my first option is open, Rico Bussey's going to be open. Yeah. And that's what I'm looking for.
And yeah, safe can be very smart. And I think Rico Bussey here is a very smart pick because you don't absolutely have to have a guy that runs the whole tree. They don't have to be able to do posts and drags and slants and all that stuff. You just need somebody who's comfortable with what they do, and they have specific ways that you get to utilize them. But when you use them like that, they're golden.
Yeah, I look at him. I see Cole Beasley from the slot, and frankly, he creates separation. I brought up Stephon Diggs, and I know he's one of the more elite route runners in the NFL, but I'm not talking about necessarily his routes. I'm not saying Rico Bussey is replicating some of the more obscure routes you see Stephon Diggs doing, but he creates that level of separation.
Yeah, he knows how to control his body and how to get away from the defender, much like Stephon Diggs does.
Absolutely. He's outstanding.
We actually went for very similar approaches here because I ended up going with Chris Olave out of Ohio State. I don't think he has the most diverse route tree in the world, and I don't think that he has the full 6 or 7 set like you want him to, but he has room to grow, and he sells them just about as good as anybody else does. He knows exactly where to hit that jab step. He knows exactly where that corner is going to bite. He can flip it in behind them, make sure they get lost on him. And a lot of that does kind of chalk up to speed, which with Rondale Moore's speed works perfectly for me. So I feel pretty comfortable with both of ours. I think we had some solid selections there.
Well, we do get to pick from an entire draft class. We're building an absolute monster here. Wouldn't be fair if these prospects actually existed. Keep that in mind.
Oh, yeah. No, these are not. If these people ever walk the earth, then draft them as quick as you can because God bless, there's no way to stop these kids.
First and second overall pick in anyone's draft.
Should be. Next up, we're going with hands. You got to be able to bring that ball in. So who are you taking to make sure that ball ends up back in your own hands?
Chris Olave, who was brought up. I'm picking Chris Olave to basically be the Jarvis Landry of this draft class. You know, maybe a late second rounder that turns into your number one guy, although it was a lot easier for him to be the number one on that Dolphins team back in 2014. But I can see him taking over a slot position the second he enters the NFL. And it has a lot to do with his hands. And you mentioned his route tree. I'm not taking him necessarily for his route tree, but he also has great feet. He is one of the few players you'll notice in college football. Every once in a while, you'll see a guy who keeps both feet in just because they can, almost like they're showing off. Because you don't have to. But Chris Olave does.
It's to impress the scouts. They know what they're looking for on Sundays, and if you can get both feet in, they know you're functional.
Chris Olave is as reliable a receiver as anyone in this draft class for his route tree, his speed, but he doesn't have to worry about speed because he's as fast as Jalen Waddle now. And he has the same route tree as Rico Bussey, and he's as tall as Terrace Marshall. So Chris Olave has some of the better hands in the league. In college football, and you're not going to see him drop a lot of passes, and he's always going to be in bounds.
Yeah, my pick is somebody I haven't been historically super high on. I do have worries about his frame, but if he's sliding into Nico Collins' body, I'll take this trade of his every day. And I'm talking about Devonta Smith of Alabama. Look, I don't know that I've ever seen more than 3 or 4 passes of his that were catchable that weren't catches. He's got some of the softest hands in football. He makes sure as soon as it hits him, he's not looking away from that thing. He's hauling it in, and that shows a great level of IQ if you're a GM or something that you're looking to bring him in. And his hands allow him to pull it through traffic. It's hard for him. It's hard to get the jump on him. If he makes first contact with that ball, take the play off. Just get him on the ground and say, you know what, we'll try to attack it better next time. And then for the final trait here, we're looking at jump ball. When that ball's popped up in the air, who are you trusting to come down with it 10 times out of 10 and give you that extra yardage?
So we haven't even mentioned the number 1 receiver in this draft class.
Take it easy. We've talked about Rondale Moore plenty.
So Jamar Chase at LSU is my pick for jump balls, and he's not the biggest dude in this draft class, but my God, is he athletic. He can climb the ladder with any defensive back in college football, and he loves playing bigger than he is.
Yes.
So I'm taking Jalen Waddle here. He has a crazy vertical. He's very strong. So when he goes up in the air, he's not going up to make it look good. He's going up to catch the ball, and he does 9 times out of 10. He is dangerous in the red zone despite maybe having a smaller frame. But he doesn't have to worry about frame because he's 6'3" and 200 pounds now.
Yeah.
He is a crazy jump ball threat. And now he's even going to be crazier because he runs a 4. He's going to run a low 4.3 and be 6'3".
Yeah. The funny part of all this is we've gotten to talk about some of the guys you don't expect to see in the first day or two. We've talked about Nico Collins. We've talked about Rico Bussey. Now it's time for me to let my homerism shine out a little bit. I'm going with a man down in Jonesboro, Arkansas for my jump balls, and that would be one Mr. Jonathan Adams Jr. I've had the pleasure of calling a basketball game of his. Recently, I watched some footage of his, did a draft analysis on it, an article, and I mean how he controls his body in the air and makes sure that corner is always on his back rather than in front of him and has the ability to make the play. I don't care if it's against the Kansas States of the world. That's going to work. Like, that translates because corners, while they might be a bit smarter, his frame, especially in Nico Collins' body, is going to allow him to keep that shoulder out front and pull it in and either turn the other way or just go ahead and crash down on him, keep a hold of that ball. And he plays bigger than 6'3", which is a very nice trait to have, especially in your jump balls, if you can play bigger than your frame. So I feel pretty comfortable with that one, knowing that he's so smooth in his technique that it should carry that area of expertise for me.
Yeah, you see a guy like Brandon Coleman,
yeah,
who tried doing that in the NFL, and it worked. He couldn't really run the routes.
No,
he wasn't fast enough. He couldn't keep up. So I was surprised that Brandon Coleman isn't on a team anymore, but you see stuff like that, and it worked.
Yeah,
he got a few touchdowns doing exactly that because they just plug him into the red zone, and he'd box out the way that Jonathan Adams Jr. does.
Both Brandon Coleman and Jonathan Adams Jr. are niche style players. You know where they fit, which is goal line passing, and they should be able to carve out a role based on that one super skill that they have. And unfortunately, it has not stuck for Brandon Coleman since he, like you mentioned, is out of the league. But Jonathan Adams Jr., maybe he'll catch the benefit of the doubt on that one. Here's hoping. But let us know down in the comments section which receiver you think turned out better. I don't think we've ever asked the comment section to do stuff like that before. So this feels like the best way to try this. So before we wrap up, let's go ahead and run down each pick that we had. I'll go ahead and start this one off.
Oh, you go first.
So we've got Nico Collins' size with Rondell Moore's speed, with Chris Olave's route tree, Devon Smith's hands, and finally Jonathan Adams Jr.'s jump ball. Now, you?
I have the body of Terrace Marshall. I have the speed and agility of Jalen Waddle.
Yes.
The route running of Rico Bussey Jr.
Yes.
The hands of Chris Olave. And the jump ball ability of the great Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
Who's projected higher than either of us think he's going to go.
Yeah, I'm not. That's another draft analysis article I recently did saying that he's a mid-first round pick. Not to spoil it if you haven't read it, but I'll link it down in the comment section below. But for now, I'm Jackson McCarty.
And I'm a 21-foot tall sentient teddy bear.
We'll see you guys next time.
But is he the best player in this draft on his own? Without a doubt.